Cody, ready?
Yes, sir.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday Wake Up Club breakfast. My name is Morton Blackwell. I'm president of the Leadership Institute. Always happy to have you. We got a great speaker today. But I'd like to start by observing that we do live in interesting times. The Democrat state legislators in Texas have fled the state to prevent the state legislature from operating. And most of them have fled Texas. And what is the state to which they have fled?
Illinois.
All right, I heard the answer, that it was Illinois. And in what state, what's one of the very worst states in the nation for Democrat gerrymandering? It is what state? Illinois. And you all know it, and it's just an interesting thing that they would do this and have such hypocrisy and show moral indignation to what Texas is doing when one of the centers of this same practice is the state to which they fled. Extraordinary. I encourage you to send live tweets today about what's happening here. The hashtag is on the screen now. In 2025, your Leadership Institute has already trained 11,192 conservatives, and we have held 868 individual training events across the country this year. You have before you our schedule of upcoming schools in this month, and I urge you to take a moment to review these schools and consider attending one or sending a friend to one of our trainings. And if you are watching online, visit our website at leadershipinstitute.org/training to see the upcoming online and in-person trainings. It's my pleasure now to introduce to you Micah Allen. He's currently serving in my office of the president as intern, outstanding fellow. Micah recently graduated with a master's in public policy from Liberty University. He serves as vice president of the college Republicans there. He interned with Generation Joshua and was the resident shepherd leading and mentoring peers. This fall, Micah will intern for Congressman Michael Cloud and advance his goal of working on Capitol Hill through hands-on experience in legislative processes and public policy. Micah will come and lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Micah?
Good morning, everybody. If you'd bow your heads with me, let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing each of us to get up this morning and to come here and just meet together. I pray that you would use this time as a time that we can glorify you first and also to advance your kingdom. Thank you for bringing all these people to this room today. I pray that it'd be a good time of fellowship, that we learn together from Mr. Heller. Thank you for bringing him in today. I just pray that you would continue to bless each of the lives in this room and that you would use today for us to glorify your kingdom and to bring each of us closer to you. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Now if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, next,
Okay. All right. If you take your seats, please. We're going to have a brief programs report about the Leadership Institute presented by Aaron Steiner. Aaron is from Jacksonville, Florida, and a graduate of the University of North Florida. Aaron is majored in history with a double minor in business administration and HR management. Throughout college, Aaron worked her way up through to be manager at a Chick-fil-A. After graduation, she earned the position of operations administrator with the conservative PR agency, where she helped run the day-to-day offices affairs of both clients and employees, and helped to plan and coordinate conferences. In her free time, Aaron loves to explore new places and spend time with her family and friends. She's currently an intern here. She's intern and the program manager at the Leadership Institute. Aaron, come up and give a report, please. Let me get around here and sit down.
All right. Good morning, everyone. As Morton said, my name is Aaron Steiner. I am the intern program manager here at Leadership Institute. And this morning, I will be giving you a report on what the intern program has done so far this semester. To start us off, the second week into the program, the interns got to visit Briar Patch, which is Morton's cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains. This is an exciting opportunity for the interns to spend quality time with Morton, as well as unplug from their busy schedules here in Arlington. Activities included cooking dinner for Morton the first night there, exploring his property, and also exploring the Luray Caverns. Next, the interns played a vital role in the 52nd 4th of July soiree, being one of the most successful ones to date. The interns were placed in various roles throughout the day, which allowed the day to run smoothly, and they gave everyone in attendance a memorable time. We truly could not have executed such a wonderful event without them. And each semester, along with going with Morton to Briar Patch, interns get to host Morton for dinner at the Sacker House, which is the intern housing. Lovingly named Morton Night, the interns prepare a 3-course meal for Morton and enjoy hearing stories from him. This night teaches them time management as well as how to properly host someone in their home. From beginning to end, this evening is run by the interns only. Staff do not help them with this. It is strictly the interns and their imagination for what an evening with Morton can look like. This semester's Morton Night was especially exciting as the Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares, joined the interns and Morton at Sacker House. Attorney General Miyares is a former LI intern, if you did not know, and so he imparted wisdom and stories to the interns. I also learned some new consequences from Jason's time as an intern for when the interns lose their house keys. So this was fun for me. Additional activities include attending Project Appleseed, which is where the interns learn marksmanship, as well as an accurate history of the beginning of the American Revolution. And interns also got to tour the White House last week, which was also exciting and a first for me as well. And one of the great compliments that we received from a total stranger was that we all looked like we belonged in the White House. And I think that is a lovely compliment to the standard of LI interns. So, thank you. I think the interns deserve a round of applause for that. So, along with these fun activities, you might be asking yourself, do the interns actually work? And I am pleased to say that yes, they do. So every week, along with the work that they are given in their division, they also attend professional development and book club. And in professional development, interns hear from partner organizations like the Heritage Foundation, Institute of World Politics, Talent Market, as well as former LI interns who have gone on to be successful in for-profit, nonprofit, the government. And the purpose of this is to help the interns refine their professional abilities and skills. And book club is where they read books from Morton's Read to Lead list and have insightful conversations about that. So, in addition to their work in professional development, each intern is given a project of high importance at the very beginning of the semester, and they take full ownership of this right away. And a perfect example of that is this month's Wednesday Wake Up Club Breakfast, which was Megan Kemp's project of high importance, as well as the 4th of July soiree. So, to wrap up, I would like to say that my job and the experiences that the interns receive each semester would not be possible without LI's generous donors and without the vision of Morton Blackwell. So thank you.
Okay. Slow but sure. And now to introduce our speaker is Megan Kempf. She's the program events intern leadership. Megan is majoring in politics and law at the University of San Antonio and is serving as secretary for her county political party. She plays a key role in coordinating the highly successful 52nd Annual National Conservative July 4th soiree. Her most recent project was organizing today's Wednesday Wake Up Club Breakfast. Megan, please step up here and introduce our excellent speaker.
Good morning, everyone. I am the Megan Kemp that has been mentioned a couple times now. Today our speaker is Dick Heller. Dick Heller is a prominent Second Amendment advocate known for his role in the landmark Supreme Court case DC v. Heller. A former DC special police officer, Heller challenged Washington, D.C.'s handgun ban after being denied a permit to keep a firearm at home for self-defense. The Supreme Court's 5-4 decision, led by Justice Scalia, overturned the 1976 D.C. gun ban, affirming an individual's right to bear arms for self-defense, independent of militia service. Heller's activism began after his Capitol Hill home was shot at in the 1970s, highlighting the disparity between disarmed citizens and armed criminals. A U.S. Army veteran and a paratrooper with the 101st Airborne Division, he also founded the Children's Birthright Trust Fund in 1984 to support youth projects and served as treasurer of the D.C. Libertarian Party. Heller continues to advocate against restrictive gun laws, and our speaker.
That was too long. I'd just like it if people say, hey, here's the gun dude. So everyone that's been through LI's classes will be pleased to know that the lawyer that styled the case that has my name on it, I never call it that name that you just heard. I always call it that magnificent Supreme Court, magnificent Justice Scalia, magnificent Second Amendment, magnificent gun decision that he made. Okay, and every now and then I have to use my own name, but I like to just say I was the catalyst. Okay, we know you don't wimp your way to law school. Okay, how many lawyers in the room? We know you didn't wimp your way there. We appreciate you. Okay, as much as a lot of people say they don't, you're really appreciated. So, having gone through an initial class here. You'll be pleased to be able to judge the product to see if I'm a good presenter or not, okay? So you can already tell I'm having fun. Are you all having fun? I have a challenge today. Is it possible that a topic can be so important, so life-saving, and have to be presented in kind of such a boring way that it can still be exciting? That's the challenge today. I finished this thing last night about midnight on the screen, and so I printed it this morning, and my struggle is, gee, is this paper going to look the same as it did on the screen? I don't know. So you might have to bear with me a little bit. But I have, I didn't want to really wear this, but I'm proud of it. I'm not a very creative person. I just kind of plod along. but can you see this symbol in the back? Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that. It's average gun dude, and I kind of like to talk about it because when our gunfight started back in 1975, I'd been out of the paratrooper division for, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so, dozen years. And I lived in the freest country in the world where we have a constitution and in the capital, and I didn't own a gun. So I thought, hey, I should own a gun. Okay, so I drove to America and bought a beautiful firearm, and I think we're going to have a picture to pass around in a minute, and drove back across the frontier into the Soviet district. And okay, mark that down. You got to laugh. Okay. But what happens is it shows the contrast, and I'll show even more contrast later. The lawyers in here know that if there was any liberals in the room, say, we got him. He confessed. He drove across the state line with his own gun. And what happened was back then, there were no such laws. Okay? And today, if I did that and someone was watching, go straight to jail. Do not pass go. Okay? Do not collect the $100 and give it to your lawyer. So I was a below average gun dude. Now, how many guys in here have ever had, when you were young or not so young, have had a bad date? You go on a date, it's a bad date. How about a bad first date? Okay. Would anyone like to take one sentence and tell us about your bad date? Volunteers? No? Okay. I forgot to bring my cough drops. How many women have had a bad first date? I see a lot of hands going up. Would any of you ladies like to share in one sentence what it was like? What happened? Please.
He was wearing a choker.
Wearing a choker. Ooh. Okay. That leads right into my next sentence. All right? So what I'm going to share with you, a list of things that happened. All of these happened in 1 week in July, just a few days ago, this year. Okay? In Milwaukee, a man gets life in prison for killing and dismembering a young co-ed on their first date. On Friday, a couple days ago, he got his life sentence. It just happened. All right? Now, can someone think of what this young lady in college could have done to have saved her life? Firearm? Yeah? Okay. Challenge is, I'm a retired cop, and I can carry, but I don't carry until the sun goes down because I'm not going to get in a gunfight in the daytime. I feel confident. However, what I usually carry walking down the street hanging out of my pocket is something like this. Now, this is something I think the young lady should have had. She could pull it out, and she said, oh, no, I need my flashlight. Push the button again. Okay, how many ladies carry one of these? Okay, I'm a dude and I carry one. You do? I will kiss your hand when this is over. There's a smart young lady, okay? I mean, I walk down the street and my friends say, oh, you're packing today. Yeah, okay, I can get to it real easy. So, a lot of these things that you're going to hear about next just should not be happening, okay? So in Michigan, armed citizen bystanders halted a mass stabbing. He had already stabbed 11 people in Traverse City, Michigan. Oh, this is the one you saw on television. The one dude had his gun. and 3 or 4 other people confronted the guy to make him put his knife down. Okay? What's interesting is how many of those 11 people should have been at least carrying one of these to hold the bad guy off. We don't know if he was a criminal or mentally imbalanced or didn't take his meds this morning, or maybe his wife burned his toast. We just don't know, okay? But the people there should not have been a victim, the subject of whatever caused his rage. Do you feel my passion about this? Okay. I tell people, I don't need a gun. In Cincinnati, you saw it on television just a couple of days ago. There was mix-up between some people, and the lady landed on the, and she's been interviewed recently. She landed on head on the concrete, her face is all black and blue, and all she would have had to do is just have her hand in her pocket and pull this out and push the button. All right, it's that easy, in my opinion. Okay. So you saw that, and what's interesting is none of the good guys had arms. Now, has anybody ever walked down the streets of Washington at night? I got to tell you, I don't know anybody, my friends, that would walk down a dark street in D.C. at nighttime without packing something, okay? And since I'm a gun instructor, most of my friends kind of pack at night. I sure do. Okay, so you get a flavor from my background now. I think now is a good time to come out of the closet. Okay, how many people have favorite pronouns? Do y'all have pronouns? Oh, this is not. Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm not a liberal. I have a pronoun. It's dude. Okay? And if you put gun in front of it, I really like it. But I have another pronoun also. It's called, can anybody guess what it is? It's called Tarzan. Okay? And what so many people don't realize, if we just think of how it was back in the day when we're not very far from the caves, back in those days, how we would have reacted in certain situations we have today, life would be very much different. Any guys want to come out of the closet and claim to be dude or Tarzan? Come on, guys. Stand up and say, I'm a dude. Let's hear it. Come on.
I'm a dude.
There we go. I'm a Tarzan. Okay. Now you know. Okay. There ain't no secrets. So, the natural state of man when we were in the caves was to be free. And that's really no different today, but we've agreed to let government sort of strangle us in so many ways. But in a responsible society, a freedom society, Tarzans and the dudes protect the women's. And this crap I see on television just shouldn't be happening. And especially since I'm a gun instructor, I only teach women and I don't charge for it. I'm saying, what's wrong with the rest of the world? Am I off base? I don't think so. I'm the dude. So let's take what we've seen on television. Let's juxtapose that to what happens in churches that the media is certainly not going to tell us about. Okay? I'm working on building a security team at my church, and I have some other people that are joining us, so they're trying to get their concealed carry. And if I have time, I have an idea about what government should not be doing and saying to people going to church, carrying whatever they want. But how many people go to church on Sunday? Okay, everybody. How many people's churches have a security team? Wow, less than half. Okay? I'll tell you what. If I can excite a couple of brain cells today and change your way of thinking, please say thank you, and I'll do it even with more excitement from now on. So, all in 1 week in July, again, in faraway Seattle, drive-by tragic shooting outside a church during a young adults event. one soul was lost in church. Marysville, Washington, a man fatally stabbed outside the church over an $8 mugging. 2 charged with murder of a 66-year-old man stabbed in the chest. Man, I don't know why he didn't have his buddy with him. In Utah, Spanish Fork, Krishna Temple, a targeted shooting. The sheriff's office confirmed that multiple bullet holes and shell casing were found at the scene. That was June 30. What was that, last Thursday? In Bryant, Arkansas, a woman fatally shot near the First Southern Baptist Church. In Olmutz, Kansas, St. Anne's School was vandalized with Nazi symbols, destroyed furnishings, and small fires set throughout the building and were being treated as hate crimes. I didn't hear about that on television. Gwinnett County, Georgia, a little closer to home, a shooting death in the church parking lot. Kingston, New York, arson investigation underway after a large wooden cross was set on fire outside the building. Pleasant Hills, Pennsylvania, Elizabeth Church is targeted with anti-Catholic and anti-Semitic graffiti and spray paint on a statue of Mary and commemorative plaques. Closer to home, I didn't hear about this. I love visiting Williamsburg. A Virginia church, a person suffering from a gunshot wound was discovered in the parking lot just before lunchtime, broad daylight. Charlottesville, Virginia, I love going down there. Man charged with multiple assaults at a church service. Where was the armed security? Chambersburg, Pennsylvania dinner, armed attack foiled by the congregants where a man brandished a knife and attempted to set the church afire. That was July 22nd. Morgantown, West Virginia, machete attack reported at Trinity Church. I think it would have been helpful if they had started a security team. So, how many people remember something back in November about 2017? I have here. I talked to him last night and confirmed it. The worst church shooting in American history in Sugar Land Spring, Texas. How many people heard about that? Okay, let me share it with you. He's my good buddy now. I didn't know him then, but he called me just last night. Says, "Hey man, are you going to be at the gun show tomorrow or this weekend?" So the most notorious church attack in this century. I know the story. I don't know why I'm reading it. 48 worshipers were shot and killed 26 souls. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell stories without tearing up. But here was my buddy, okay, Stephen Williford. He was on call, so he wasn't in church. He was on call at the hospital. He had to be ready to go. He heard the gunshots. He woke up. It took him 90 seconds, and when he tells the story, you can just know the pain that he's feeling because he's hearing the gunshots, and it took him 90 seconds to open his safe, you know? And he grabbed one AR and a handful of bullets and stuffed it in his jacket pocket, and he ran down the street to the church yelling and screaming, and the pastor, who was just about to buy the farm with a gun pointed at him, told him later, he said, "When you yelled, 'Hey,' the guy stopped what he was about to do and ran outside to see what was going on." And the bad guy came out of the church. There was a running gun battle for 30 minutes. And finally, are you listening, liberals? The bad guy that had killed 26 people was stopped by a good guy with a gun. Thank you. So, does that give you a little bit of food for thought? See, what happens is it's happening all over the place, and you're not going to hear about it. All right? And when I was talking to a member of the White House staff just recently who had lived here for 10 years, and I said, "Hey, do you know that terrorists have been surveilling Catholic churches in Fairfax County?" And he said, "No." I'm saying, this guy is a White House dude Why doesn't he know? Why doesn't his church know? What is not going on? Okay? So you can you can see why I can get a little bit upset about this. Okay? So we don't know about it, but in America, in the USA, 100 Catholic churches each year are attacked in some fashion. Wow, that's a big number. Well, let's take a look at internationally. In France, where they have imported bad people, maybe as many, well, not as many as we have imported across our southern border in this country, but in France, over 500 attacks on Catholic churches occurs every year. Now, what's interesting is I tend to get off, like, in France, you can't protect yourself. You can't own a gun, so of course they can be protected with a flamethrower, hand grenade, dynamite, gun, stabbing, sword, machete, anything that the bad guys, the terrorists want to use. Okay? So the churchgoers there are not armed, and we can do something to minimize our Sunday risks. And I can tell you, at my church, I have a little place to sit. We're very fortunate we have a great big mansion of a church. And if a bad guy comes in the middle, down the aisle, in the front door, I'm over here sitting in a pew and can come around behind him, behind a wall, and address the situation unseen, totally unseen. Okay? There is a gun god. He loves me. He gives me good cover. Thank you. So in March of this year in Syria, Christians, over 1,000 were massacred. In the Congo, hundreds were murdered. Ongoing Christian massacres occur in Nigeria. 50 were brutally and heinously machete butchered just recently. In Syria, an evangelical pastor and approximately 20 members of his extended family were killed. And over the weekend, the police were calling the massacre a targeted act of terrorism. So here's a terrorist update for you. The Islamic State has intensified its calls for violence, and there's a newsletter by Isa al-Naba, has continued to issue directives to attack Christians and Jewish individuals, quote, in the streets of Europe and in that Crusader Europe, because they're enemies of Islam. And they justify what we call act of terrorism, they call it religious obligation. Okay? So somebody's wrong in this picture. What it means now is churches really have to prepare, because from what I read, we kind of wonder, why has nothing happened lately really, really, really bad? Okay? And what I gather is that does anybody have an idea, been reading how many terrorists there might be in our country already? Any ideas? Hundreds. Add a zero or two, yeah. I read something, and I couldn't find it recently. The FBI had said that there's 20,000 of a particular kind of terrorists, and I don't know if that was the Chinese young men or people that ran us in. I couldn't find it at midnight last night to validate it, and I'd like to tell the truth. But like I said before, they've been surveilling churches in Fairfax County. How many people live in Fairfax County? Bunch of ya. Okay. So if I've engaged your brain here, please let me know. I'll do it with more passion next time. We need to be, this is just a wake-up call, another reminder. You need to be alert and ever watchful and not let our guard down, because the way I understand it, the way I'm reading the tea leaves, is someone's going to push the button and say, okay, all you bad guys, you want to hit the infrastructure, make sure they have no water, the electricity goes out, and maybe the day before, maybe that's on Monday after they've raided the churches on Sunday. I don't know. We don't know. Okay? But I think we're just waiting for a signal. I've been worried. I wondered about that 30 or 40 years ago. We live in a free country, and people are terrorizing the rest of the world. All they could do is just come over on a boat or walk across the border somewhere. Now we got 20 million of them walking across the border. Okay, you need to train and train and train and train some more. Not just in range training, but in situational awareness, because every house of worship needs a security check and see where you have weak spots and fill them. Okay, so they're coming. All right, now we drift into something a little more exciting. The source of crime. Everything starts with a why. And we have to ask ourselves, why suddenly is there so much crime? Well, the why is there's so many opportunists, criminals, terrorists, freeloaders, mixed in with 20 million people that some of them really want to come here for freedom. And at one time, at any one time, there can be 50% or more Medicaid funds going to able-bodied men with no dependents. They're not in any job training. They're not getting any educational. They're not in any educational system. They're not working, and they ain't looking. And the figure that I saw was 50%. That came to about 4 million not too long ago, and the cost to us that get up every morning and go to work is $16 billion. Now, the good news is the big, beautiful bill kicks 1.4 million illegal immigrants off Medicaid. Those crooks and other welfare have other welfare benefits, and it's never going to be enough. I mean, to be a crook, you have to have a lot of ambition to put your life on the line, like every day you go out and do something bad. So those ambitious people, all the mugging they can do is not going to satisfy them, okay? But they're too lazy to go to work. Okay, so this is being done to us by our government. We're giving them the American dream and serving them apple pie to boot. So in just this year alone in New York, the Doge found that there were 6 people, 5 and 1, 6 people, only 6 people in New York had stolen $66 million from the food stamp program. And that food stamp fraud money was going to their friends in Syria and terrorists in Africa, their favorite terrorists. $100 million was stolen in food stamps fraud this year in Florida and in many other states. And the government, I've read the government looks the other way because, hey, number one is free money. Number two, it helps the economics of our particular municipality. I'm glad we have Doge. So in 1993, probably nobody knows the name Gary Kleck, do they? He's a hero of mine, and you'll love this for 2 reasons. Well, the NIH in 1993 granted criminologist Gary a large sum of money for a research study, and the results showed that, and you've seen that, I know you've seen this before. It showed, but there's a punchline, shows that owners of firearms defended themselves about 2 million times every year in the USA. You divide that by the days in a year, divide by 50, and that comes out to 109 times average in every state that somebody has to defend themselves with a firearm every day. And by the way, that NIH contracts, anybody know what it costs? Cost $10 million. And then, who can tell me what they did with it? They buried it, deep 6, yes, and someone discovered it. And I'm glad I discovered their discovery. So, they did not want it validated, and every Tarzan out there can actually understand why. Now, here it even gets to be more exciting. Okay, are we doing good so far? Is it exciting? Okay. So this will take your breath away. In 1643, 6 colonies got together and they passed a common law in the colonies that said at least one adult man in every house needed to carry a gun to church. okay, and in every other public meeting to protect against different kinds of attacks, okay? In 1632, even Virginia joined along with that. You had to bring a firearm with you, a serviceable gun with sufficient powder and shot. Now, 1643, 400 years later, it's very different in New York, but I'll get there. So 150 years after you were required to carry a gun to church, we had the Militia Act of 1792, and then every citizen 18 to 45 was required to provide himself with a good musket and a firelock and not less than 24 cartridges. Well, in D.C., I'm limited to 10. I mean, what happened here? So more colonies later on required portage of arms to and from church. Then, 15 years, here's the most exciting research I've done in my life. 50 years after the Militia Act in 1840, I'll bet the name Aymette, A-Y-M-E-T-T-E, is meaningless to everybody, right? Okay, I hope to add to your lexicon today. There was two dudes and a knife and a bar and some whiskey all managed to meet up somehow in the same place. Okay? An altercation occurred. It went to the Supreme Court of the state of Tennessee. And what they came up with, the instrument's not important. What they came up with is the decision, their opinion shows us why. If you're taking notes, I got a couple phrases for you, okay? Why military-grade weapons are critical in the hands of civilians. Does anybody want me to slow down while you write that on paper? Military-grade weapons are critical in the hands of civilians. Somebody, oh, that's why they don't teach history. Oh, voila. Number one, to protect public liberty with our current laws. Another beautiful phrase. Write this, three letters, the word awe. Supreme Court of Tennessee used this phrase. To keep in awe those who are in power. When the government has the guns, we are fearful. When we have the guns, they remain in awe. And the punchline is to maintain the supremacy of laws and our Constitution. Thank you, Lord. So I'm going to skip over. Okay. Yeah, I should put it in. 1911, all that changed when we had the New York Sullivan Laws. Okay, Sullivan Law says nobody can have a gun. Government wants to own all the guns. Okay, but 100 years after the Aymette case, in 1939, there was the Miller sawed-off shotgun case. How many don't know about it? How many do know about it? Okay. That was a case where two bad guys were carrying a sawed-off shotgun across the state line, got caught, and it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Okay. So the Miller court, the admonishment of Aymette in Tennessee Supreme Court did not go unnoticed. They actually made reference to it in that Supreme Court Miller decision. It said, and my lawyer wrote in a brief to the Supreme Court, said, the Miller court, quotes, the Miller court had no misunderstanding of the purpose of the Second Amendment. And then the Miller court cited 1840 case of why military-grade weapons are critical in the hands of civilians. Okay? Then Miller went on to say, weapons have a reasonable relationship to the effectiveness of a well-regulated militia, means not government-controlled, it means well-trained, under the Second Amendment, and are free from government regulation. You know, when I read that, that might even be stronger than shall not be infringed. I'm not sure. I'm not an English student. Maybe someone can compare infringement to free from government regulation. I mean, words mean things. So years later, we have the gun control laws of Sullivan, but they were ignored, I think, because we were kind of getting ready to go into World War I. And then the close up, I was pleased and actually maybe I was shocked, somewhere between surprised and shocked to see in that magnificent Justice Scalia, magnificent keep and bear arms decision that he mentioned the word "I meant" appeared in the briefs and the dissents of the opinion 17 times. No, that didn't happen. I went back and did it again. I got the same number, so I'm going to lie and say it was in there maybe a dozen times. Okay, is that fair? So then ultimately the trifecta of Heller, Reed Scalia, McDonnell, and Bruin gave us the steamroller that we have that puts us in such a winning position today with our Supreme Court. And Morton and I were comparing ages, and I was born as the Japanese were bombing Pearl Harbor. And so you can do the math and figure out I'm just still a kid. And I'm still fighting for you because I just learned this morning when I looked at the briefs from my lawyer, there's a case called Hall, Heller, et al. That sits in the appeals court as we speak. Okay, and the message from the lawyer was Hall dropped out. So once again, Heller is the lead name in a case to protect our paychecks from overtaxation and protect our firearms from getting voted out again like they did back in 1976. And the next frontier is we need to get control of unscrupulous prosecutors, but that's research for another day. Thank you. So I left out, normally I do a speech on an envelope, right? Because I've been there, done that, I know the story. Today, I had to use notes because it's all new, so I left out all the good stuff that people ask me. So do we have time for questions?
Yes, we do. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Dennis Kirk, thank you for what you're doing. And being a permit holder with most of them, except the
Please wait for the mic.
Thank you for what you're doing, Dick.
Yes, sir.
George Lyon said to say hello, and Sneakers Nesby's down in Florida, so you know the old crew. Are we ever going to get past the 10 rounds for our handgun licenses in D.C. and a total of 20 rounds?
Don't make me answer that. I have a solution, but I don't want it to get out. Okay?
All right.
And I'll give you a blanket statement. In my opinion, we have the first. Okay, I'm going to spill the beans. We have a First Amendment. Married with the Second Amendment, Congress shall pass no law if I want to go to church with a machine gun. Okay? If I need to. I rest my case. Don't tell your lawyers. I'm trying to get that case together. Next. Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. In case I get carried away, there was a gentleman in Washington who saw a lady getting attacked. And his nickname from the president and from Elon Musk, this is what they say, online, Twitter and so on, big balls. Now, Big Balls saw 12 thugs attacking a lady, and Big Balls got the heck beat out of him. And now Donald Trump and Elon Musk are all talking about federalizing Washington. Do you think you hear your name being mentioned?
If we just didn't have governments limiting us, how many women would carry a gun if it was real easy to do? Okay. About half the women. Okay. Geez, dude, I think that would solve our problem. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. But My advocacy is for women. That's why I teach women only. I don't charge them because conservative women need to be able to maintain the standard, the traditional roles of society, and Tarzan needs to do his job. I rest my case. Did I answer your question? Yes, ma'am?
I got a concealed carry permit from the government in Maryland and that was quite onerous compared to Virginia when I had the concealed carry in Virginia. What I didn't realize was apparently if you don't want a concealed carry, but you do want a weapon at home, you have to have some sort of training for that weapon, even for use in your own home, a formal training, not just dad takes you to the range, 10 times or 20 times so you get used to the gun. Would you have
That's in Maryland?
In Maryland, yeah. I just found that out yesterday.
Okay, interesting. Well, they won't know you have it if you don't let them kick in your door. I didn't say that. No, what happens is, okay, let's be clear. Many states, you have to go get clearance and have something called an FOID, Firearms Owner's Identification Card, before you can go into a gun store and touch a gun, okay? And there are people, the district has a law, a young lady, Miller, wrote a book called Emily Gets Her Gun, Emily Miller Gets Her Gun. And she was a reporter for the Star or the Times back when it was, anyway, she wrote the absurdities. She said, I want a gun, but I can't go to the gun store and even touch a gun until I've taken a class. But in the class, I have to handle the gun, I would think. Okay, and she wrote 17 stories about those kinds of absurdities. And to be clear, it's simply that the states want to do everything they can to convince you so that all you ladies that don't have guns that want them won't go do it. Okay, you'll have to take time off from work, and you have to go to the range maybe.
And the cost of doing the course that I did last year before I moved was over $400. Now,
Oh my gosh.
I don't need that kind of protection the way a poor person in a poor part of town might need that protection. Yeah, but I'm sorry, you have to get up close and personal with somebody. All of a sudden you're in range, you're a little person, and that person's got a longer reach than you do. I wouldn't, that's...
Bad news.
Yeah.
And I know because I accidentally handled it wrong recently. I went about as from here to this far away.
Yeah, but it didn't knock you out, did it?
No, it scared the crap out of me. I didn't want to do it again. I said, when you pick this thing up, let's be very careful. Okay? So all that to say, I know it works. Okay? And that's why I carry one instead of a gun.
But is it legal?
Oh, yeah. $25 online. You walk into any gun store right down the street from here. Oh, I think 5 blocks from here is the gun store. You can get this. I buy them 3 at a time and hand them out.
Is it legal in D.C.?
Yes, it is.
Is it legal in Maryland?
Yes, it is. Not legal in New York. Sorry to hear that. Don't go to New York. But the point is, okay, why wouldn't this be legal in New York? Okay? If you took a straw and hit somebody in the eye with a spit wad, it would probably be in New York illegal.
That's a narco-tyranny.
Sorry?
A narco-tyranny. In other words, you have chaos, and the government controls those people who obey the law, but they create an atmosphere of fear among the law-abiding citizenry. Then the criminals just do whatever they want to do.
You're right on, and it's even worse than that. It's programmed to put those criminals back out on the street. The lady that got her face pounded in Cincinnati, okay, the guy got out the next day on a $400 bond. His girlfriend came down and gave him $40, 10% of the bond. He walked out on the street. He had 3 gun charges against him previously. Now tell me, is anybody in here would let that guy walk down the street where your family lives? Okay, so we understand that it's planned. Okay, it's planned chaos. Yes, you're right.
Narco-tyranny is the term for that.
Bingo. Bingo. Okay. I was going to ask if I could leave on a high note, but I'll answer all the questions until Morton says I'm done. Yes, sir.
Let's take this one more.
One more.
Dick, I wonder if you could talk about the demographics of new handgun registrants in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I went to every hero has a hero. Every instructor has an instructor, right? So I went to my instructor once to have a chat about something. He had a room full of women, all black, on the southeast side of town. That's my experience.
Just stay here for just a second. Dick, you've modestly didn't elaborate on the Supreme Court victories which you had, which have helped protect the right to keep and bear arms in this country. Let me present to you a token of appreciation. You're not wearing one today, but here's a necktie for you. This happens to be an Adam Smith necktie. So thank you so much for coming.
And you know what? I thought this was Thomas Jefferson a long time ago, and I was wearing it, and someone said, "Oh, Adam Smith tie." I said, "Oh." I got educated. I mean, you know, at my age, I forget things.
Well, the Adam Smith tie was the sort of club tie of Reaganites within the Reagan administration. I served on the Reagan White House staff. Attorney General Ed Meese wore an Adam Smith tie every day. Economist Milton Friedman wore an Adam Smith tie every day, and we continued the tradition. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
The gun issue is an interesting one, the importance of which is not intrinsically understood by all politicians. And this came to my mind most powerfully many years ago. Here in Virginia, we nominated a man named Marshall Coleman, who had been elected statewide attorney general, and he was then the Republican nominee for governor of Virginia. And in his campaign, I flew with him on occasion to various speaking engagements. And we were flying in a small plane with a pilot and a co-pilot, and I asked Marshall Coleman what he thought about the gun issue. And he says, well, he says, I'm for the Second Amendment. I said, but tell me, do you understand how important it is? I said, let me ask you, Marshall, you know, in Virginia, in order to shoot a deer legally, you have to get a license to shoot the deer, and when you shoot a deer, you have to bring it to a reporting station, generally rural grocery stores, and account for the deer that you just shot. And that's the law in Virginia. You can't legally shoot a deer without that process. Get a license and then report the deer at the reporting stations. I said, Marshall, do you know how many deer are legally shot by this method in Virginia every year? And he said, no. I said, well, guess. He says, well, I don't want to guess. I said, Marshall, you are running for governor of Virginia. You need to at least guess. How many would you say are legally shot by registered hunters in Virginia? And he says, oh, maybe 500 or 800 deer. I said, Marshall, in the average year in the Commonwealth of Virginia, licensed hunters shoot and report having shot 150,000 deer. This is a cultural matter in Virginia. Many a young man, when he first holds his newborn son in his arms, he's thinking, how long will it be before I can take my boy hunting? People do not understand this. This is ingrained in our society to a greater extent, I think, than any other society in the world. And in Pennsylvania, which has an even greater number. It's 300,000 per year in Pennsylvania. So I said, and he was astonished that this was the case, and changed his thinking about the gun issue. I want to invite you to join us in September for our next Wednesday Wakeup Club breakfast. I encourage you to RSVP online at leadershipinstitute.org/breakfast. Now, Kevin Tober, will you step here? Kevin, step up here, please. Here he is. He's unmistakable. This is Kevin, big guy. I invite any of you who are here who would like to have a tour of this, our Stephen P.J. Wood building, and our 2 additional floors in the adjacent building. Meet Kevin here at the podium, and he will be happy to answer any questions, take you on the tour, and if he can't answer a tough question that you ask, he may pop up to my office and ask me. I'll try to help if I can. And so thank you all for a wonderful breakfast, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks. Here's Kevin.